What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Drea Kay, back with another episode of Let's Tell a Story. I have here Miss
Janea Jamison. Hey, how are y'all doing?
So, for the people who may not know who you are and what you do, introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Janea Jamison. I'm from a very small country rural town, and I always like to say that first because I never want to forget where I came from. And I'm really deeply involved in like community engagement and education, as well as just providing platforms for different women, female entrepreneurs, sharing their stories, and more importantly, women of color and our Black women, and just the importance of like collective power building and working together to move a specific agenda. And so I have a podcast, Her Story.
Love it.
I also work for a nonprofit in New Orleans, which is where I'm based. And I also have an online store, Closet Fitness, which just promotes, it's more so of like a fitness brand that just promotes fitness and wellness and just self-love, loving yourself and motivating yourself to be fit and go to the gym.
So, how did you get started with your own companies and your own business? Like, what part in your life did you decide to, hey, I'm going after this, I'm going after that? Like, what time in your life gave you that push?
I would definitely say like life experiences that did that to me. My story is very difficult. It started off with me in elementary school and just looking at different images on TV. You know, now young girls are influenced by social media, but back then it was, you know, it was MTV, it was BET, it was the video models and just images like that, and even different stories like on Lifetime and TV. So it really heavily influenced me about body image. And as a young girl, like I went to a very small Catholic school, but kids could be really cruel, you know.
Yes,
and,
they can.
So just like certain comments just about my body, I'm a Black girl, you know. The majority of the kids there, they were white, but just even at that young age, our bodies are slightly different. So it was just the comparison and trying to fit in and what my body should look like. So at a very young age, I battled bulimia and anorexia. I wouldn't eat, or I would force myself to throw up, and you know, I would have these different conversations with my teachers. They noticed my patterns when it was lunchtime and me going to the bathroom, and they called my parents. So it was that kind of like shaped my mindset of sometimes me feeling as though I was inferior or not pretty enough or all of those things. But it took like the love and the commitment of my mom and people at the school that really cared about me to talk to me like, you know, that you were made in the image of God, and, you know, no one is a mistake, you know, that you're beautiful, you're smart, you're intelligent. So I really pride myself on being an affirmation queen, you know.
Yes, we need those.
Yes. And but I have to shout that out to my mother, who paved the way and told me, look, it doesn't matter what anyone else tells you or anything, you're smart, you're beautiful, you know, and then at the end of the day, like, how others see you and perceive you doesn't even really matter. It's how you look and how you perceive yourself in the mirror. So with all of that being said, what I took as working out as a means to try to fit in, I then developed a way to holistically change my health and well-being, changing my diet, using workout and motivation to influence and encourage people. So that's how I developed Closet Fitness. You know, I wanted something to create a platform for women who are all shapes and sizes to encourage them to go to the gym. And so when I put on some new tights or a sports bra, I was like, you know, this is so cute.
I'm so cute.
Yeah, like I have to go to the gym. You know, this is so cute. And so I'm like, if I feel this way, then other women feel this way as well. So that's how I developed the online store in 2016.
So how important is it for you to be that inspiration for other women in today's world? Just how the culture is right now, how images are right now on Instagram, TV, wherever. We kind of see women in a negative light. Mm-hmm. So how important is it for you to be that inspiration for young women?
I said before, I have to be an inspiration for others, I have to be an inspiration for myself.
Right,
you know,
right.
Life can be very, very difficult at times. And what I've realized is that people who you may not even know look up to you for inspiration and for motivation and things of that nature. You influence so many different people, but I have to find within myself first. And so a lot of times when I'm proclaiming these different affirmations and positive messages, it's something that I'm going through as well. So So everything I do is based off of experience. So a few years ago, it was one of my very close friends. He was in a very tragic accident, and he was diving off of a boat. He was paralyzed from the nipples on down. His life really changed in a split second, and he has a nonprofit called Split Second, which shout out to Mark. But so it was that situation that was like, okay, your life can completely change, but it's important to be a voice and just to empower and motivate people to get through tough times. So I started off just by sending different prayers to different people day to day, just a means of encouragement.
Yeah.
And when I started doing that and promoting different things on social media just by motivation and just prayers, it was random people that would walk up to me. It's like, hey, you know, I follow you on Instagram and your prayers really helped me get through something, or that quote really helped me get through something. And so it was in that moment, of course, experienced by other things too, but I knew that I was a voice and that people looked for me to be a voice for certain things. So it was more than just me and about me at that time. And I felt like it was almost like my duty to just encourage and motivate people.
Do you feel like God is using you as a vessel for other women?
Most definitely. It's a vessel for other women, for Black women, and just for the community in general. So yeah, I definitely believe that my voice and my purpose is to encourage and motivate people.
So I know you pray, you do your daily affirmations, your motivation, you inspire yourself, but how do you kind of manage being a vessel each and every day? Because I know sometimes when we're helping people and we're praying for people and we're doing this and we're doing that, it kind of drains us and we have to refuel ourselves.
Right.
So how are you managing being a vessel?
It's so hard. It is
hard. Okay.
And at times it can be almost toxic, you know, because at the same time, like, I'm a prayerful person,
Yeah.
but I'm human at the same time. So, you know, it's like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I need to go get a drink, you know, and completely vulnerable and honest. The height of this year, 2020, was very hard because social media and society is always like, you know, it's 2020. 2020 is approaching. 2019 is the last of the decade. What are you doing? Whatever. And it can be so much pressure, but then at the end of the day, I try to focus on too that life is not promised. So I don't need to stress myself out. But it was a very vulnerable post that I actually did, like maybe earlier this week. It was like, who encourages the encourager? Who motivates the motivator? Who prays for the prayerful? So when you're constantly pouring into other people and you still don't get that reciprocated energy from others, it's so draining. But you have to take that time then to step back, to check yourself, and to have self-care, which is very important. And I do that through journaling. I write out everything.
Me too, yeah.
So simple things I do. I have sticky notes. I stick it on my mirror, so when I look at myself in the morning, I'll set the tone. But I also write out, like, this day, this is what I want to accomplish within this year. This is what I want to accomplish this week. This is what I want to accomplish today. And that's really just how I try to balance it all out, because no day is going to be perfect.
That's right.
They will always have problems, but it's how you react to those situations.
So within that, taking care of your spiritual and your mental, how do you organize and balance all of your business things that you have going on?
It's crazy. It's very hectic.
It's a lot.
And it's really the same way too. Like, you just have to really check yourself. I really know, I feel and believe that the work that I do is very meaningful, right? When it comes from nonprofit, I'm giving back to the community from marginalized areas, encouraging our people, talking to our people who are often forgot about, bringing resources to our people. Education is a very important component for people to know their voice, utilize their voice, seize their power, and that can be just through civic engagement, that's through voting, that's just from educating, providing young women who are on the ground working. So because my work is so meaningful, so purposeful, it's connection to my people who look like me, it pushes me to keep going. And then the same with my podcast, creating a platform for women. It was like the creation of Her Story. Her is an acronym for heroic, empowering, and resilient. And literally, Drea, I was in my bed, sleep, and I woke up and I heard her. Like, what is this? Where
did that come from?
Right, I wasn't listening to her, so I tried to figure out what was going on. And So at that point, I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to create another brand off of my fitness brand, Closet Fitness, to encourage more women to work out or express their fitness journeys. And then I was like, the day progressed, it went on. It needs to be bigger than that. It needs to be more than that. So what I did, I went to the gym. When I came back from the gym, it was like 11 o'clock at night. Okay, like I'm fueled. I have energy.
You ready?
And I wrote out everything. I'm like, okay, it's the acronym for Heroic, Empowered, and Resilient. It's going to focus on women, specifically women of color, to tell their stories and just to help and encourage everyone. So the work that I do is intersectional and it's related and it connects, but because it has so much purpose for different people who are all a reflection of me, to Black people, to women of color, to women, and just people in general, it keeps me going. So it's tiring, so I have to tell myself, one, I have to take care of myself, because
that's important.
If I don't, the work is gonna be here regardless. There's always gonna be another podcaster. There's always gonna be another motivational speaker, another strong Black woman. There's gonna be someone giving back to the community. There's always gonna be some type of fitness influencer. So I have to check myself first and then be drawn back to the reason why I started it all. But every day is just one day at a time.
So with your podcast, when how do you go about creating your topics? How do you go about picking different people to be on the show, and what's that process for you?
Well, so I've been doing the podcast it'll be 2 years in June. But when I first launched it, just because people were so connected to what the purpose really was, multiple women just flooded.
They sought you out.
They sought me out in my DMs and just people that I knew. But my very first guest is a lady by the name of Taisha Matthews, who came started off through an interviewing process, but turned out to be a very close friend. But I sought her out because she was my second guest, but I sought her out because she was just so positive on Instagram. So we're influenced, by the same thing. But she would often throw hints that she battled like depression and really had a story. And so it was very interesting. I really appreciate that she was on these different topics. So I reached out to her about what her situation really was. And then my first guest was an old college roommate, who was very open on social media about her situation, her difficulty getting pregnant and the role of becoming a wife. So I saw different women. I saw that they really had potential to really reach a multitude of different women with relatable experiences. So I sought out different people. People came to me, and now I'm just at the state where I also you have to use your marketing and social media as well.
Right.
So I promote myself, I create my own graphics, I do different promotions and things like that. So I tie it in all together. But I have to say that the people or the young ladies who seek me out, their stories are just so powerful.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Just like, it's really amazing. I have not had one guest that I have not talked to that I have not published. And I have not had one guest that I have not talked to that didn't have a relatable story that somebody can be encouraged. Everyone has a story, and that's really the basis of my podcast. Every single person has a story. No person is greater than the other. No story is greater than the other, because everyone has a journey.
So when dealing with, showcasing your story as well as other story, how do you manage the emotions that go into that? Because I know if I'm sitting here and I'm interviewing somebody and they say something about their story and it just chokes me up, how do you deal with those emotions? How do you not let it overtake you in the moment?
I cry.
I let it out.
I really do, because the thing is, her story is not perfect, and like my interviewing is kind of similar, like you and I. It's a conversation. It's a conversation, and it's real things. Like, life is hard. Life is really hard.
It's heavy stuff.
Some stories, they focus on women in their entrepreneurship journey, but it's some women who have been through the struggle. And I'm talking about sexual abuse. I'm talking about drug addiction. I'm talking about in and out of the system and, in prison. I'm talking about just trying to fit into the societal norms, or being in a misogynistic environment, trying to prove yourself in corporate America, or even the journey of trying to figure out what is going on with my life. I'm a college student, I have a master's, and now I'm unemployed. So it's just so many different various issues, but it's important for us to let it all out. And again, like one interview when I had a conversation about someone who was like sexually abused and raped, and when she went into full detail of her the night she wanted to commit suicide, I couldn't hold that in.
You can't.
And the thing is, we are so close now, and her nickname for me is Pink because she was saying that my face was so pink.
It's some heavy stuff.
And I started crying. So, but the end of that, and the light of the tunnel at the end of that story is that was her first time sharing it and releasing that. That was her first time sharing it, and her mom having a conversation with her mother about the situation, and she was in her 30s at that point. And so it was a lift. It was a lift. And again, some people feel so isolated. They're the only person. You never know their mental state because they feel so alone. So it created a pathway for other people.
So you are very connected to a lot of people in Baton Rouge. I know we were connected once within I guess charity events and things like that with Boo Milton. So how was that experience for you being a part of his event that he had?
I loved it. It was
fun.
I really do love the community so much, and I try to be very genuine and intentional in everything that I do. And sometimes like in community work and like in civic engagement, people like to do things just to show face, and they don't really have the heart to do it. I truly believe in Boo and in his mission and his heart to give back to Baton Rouge, and it was Baton Rouge that gave me my voice. So I will never ever forget Baton Rouge. Again, I'm from Napoleonville. Shout out to Assumption Parish. But Southern University, I attended Southern University from 2008 to 2012. So I'm 30. I don't look it, but
you look good. Stop.
But so Southern University definitely gave me my voice. I was Miss Freshman. I ran for Miss Southern. I was in SGA, and I started doing like community organizing when Jindal was an era. But like our fight at the Capitol, just about trying to preserve our school, and so it started off there. Then I worked for Councilwoman Erica Green, District 5, North Baton Rouge, community that's so tied to me again because of Southern. And so I saw people who looked like my aunt and my mom and my dad who were somewhat voiceless, who had a system that wasn't really fighting or working for them. North Baton Rouge is often thought of like the forgot about section of Baton Rouge. And
exactly, yeah.
It's a makeup of individuals who look like us and our people and our elders. So when I figured out that I was then the problem solver, I started working like really, really hard for the community and trying to, amplify and push out the councilwoman's dream and her mission as well. So that's when I really fell in love, like just with community engagement.
So what is your mental process going into things like that? I know sometimes in Baton Rouge, people kind of fall for the hype of things and they don't really execute what they need to execute. So what mental space are you in when you're going into community events?
I always say that I have a real heart, and I'm real. Like if that's the best way that I can describe it. I try to always, again, just be very genuine. I have a good heart. I don't go into anything thinking that I'm going to make a profit out of it. I don't go into anything thinking that, I want to make money out of it. And, some people may call it crazy, but like I think about that every day when I looked in the mirror, even when I began her story, ultimately, when someone reached out to me about a podcast, they were like, oh, how can you make money off of it? I'm like, the goal is to ultimately make money, but that isn't the initial process for me. My first process thought is, how can I create a platform to help people? So I always try to think about how can I help people and how can I provide resources to people.
So what do you have coming up for this year? What are your goals? What are your plans for 2020?
Okay, so in the nonprofit sector, again, we're the Power Coalition, we're the Civic Engagement Table. That's under the leadership of Miss Ashley Shelton, who is my mentor, who is such a positive and radiant light. Our commitment is to educate folks on the census, which is very important. Again, you have the federal elections, you have local elections, you have DA, district attorney races. We have different things at the legislative, on the legislative level, like different bills and policies that we're trying to pass. podcast. So that's my career and my nonprofit mind space. Then with her story, again, just trying to develop different relationships and connections with people, like having you on my podcast.
I'm there.
And also doing different panels as well. I have a panel, I made a connection with a young lady, Jay Monet in New Orleans. About a year or two ago, we connected at a pop-up shop through Closet Fitness and through her boutique. Then she developed another brand, and I developed the brand, with her story with my podcast. She came on my podcast. So we're doing an event together on a panel discussion, just again discussing how it is being a female entrepreneur and just, our hardships, our breakthroughs, how we get through different situations. So again, paneling, motivational speaking, traveling throughout the state for civic engagement. And then with Closet Fitness is such a struggle for me. It is not easy at all.
It's for me too.
And even the branding of my online store has not been strong as it was in the past. So really, my focus for 2020 is to revamp that and just to first, again, I never want to falsify anything. So
right.
I'm so vulnerable when it comes to even going to the gym. Like, I made a post the other day, like it's 2020. I just felt defeated in the gym, not through the workout. I had an awesome workout, but again, body image. So, like the thing of self-acceptance and loving yourself. So again, just trying to expand that brand again and trying to connect the fitness brand with self-love and connection throughout the year.
Okay. Where can they find you? Where can they book you for speaking engagements? Where can they reach out to you in regards to your podcast and all of your ventures that you have going on?
Okay. Well, you can definitely follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Janea, JANEA _Claire, CLAIRE. I had to think about that. 13. My personal page, you can find all of my different platforms. You can find the Power Coalition, you can find her story, you can find Closet Fitness, and there's also an email there as well. So all three of them are connected. You can reach out to me just on my personal page.
Well, I can't wait to work with you personally. I just started my podcast too.
Yeah, so we can elaborate on so many different levels.
Yeah.
And because your message is so similar, it's so important for women to collectively build. If we have so many different, you have similarities, we have a shared message. So again, I think that it's important too. Like, you can't compete with other people.
It's not necessary at all.
You build power through connections through other people. That's how you reach more people. Right. So definitely looking forward to collaborating in the future.
Well, thanks for stopping by at our media day. This has been another episode of Let's Tell a Story. Make sure you follow Janea. Make sure you check out her podcast, her story, and make sure you check me out as well on my Instagram, Drea Story. You already know. And that's a wrap. Bye.